The nearly 90-meter-tall metal structure gleamed under the spotlights of Launch Complex 36, reflecting its imposing silhouette in the calm waters of the Florida coast. What happens when the vehicle designed to redefine access to orbit transforms into a fireball before it even leaves the ground? We'll delve into the details of that night in Cape Canaveral and the impact of an explosion that brought the private space race to a standstill. It was the night of May 28, 2026. The warm, humid coastal air enveloped the New Glenn, Blue Origin's grand orbital wager, which stood firmly anchored on the heavy concrete pad. The mission schedule called for a static ignition test. This procedure, known in aerospace engineering as a hot fire, is a brutal rite of passage for any new vehicle. It demands that the powerful first-stage engines ignite at maximum thrust, while oversized steel clamps prevent the rocket from lifting off. It's the final rehearsal, the narrow line separating theoretical physics from the controlled fury of orbital flight. Engineering teams monitored every sensor, every pressure valve, and every fuel line from secure control rooms located kilometers away. Everything seemed to follow the rigorous flow of a standard countdown, with no red alerts flashing on the telemetry panels. But around 9 o'clock that evening, meticulous control over that massive energy suddenly was lost. A silent anomaly within the ducts or engines transformed into a devastating visual event in fractions of a second. The colossal rocket was engulfed by a violent explosion. A gigantic fireball tore through the night's darkness, illuminating miles of the Atlantic coast and sending a dense shockwave that reverberated through the Space Force Station facilities. The violence of the detonation was so extreme that one of the pad's heavy lightning towers toppled, succumbing to the heat and impact. To not miss the next expedition through space, simply subscribe to the channel. The vehicle meant to lead the company's new era was reduced to charred wreckage before registering a single millimeter of altitude. Intense flames now illuminated only the thick smoke and the steel skeleton of Complex 36. The steel skeleton of Complex 36 bore the invisible weight of over a decade of promises and billions of dollars in private investment. Blue Origin, the company founded by billionaire Jeff Bezos, built the New Glenn to be far more than a simple commercial cargo rocket. It was meticulously designed to be the direct counterweight to SpaceX's absolute dominance in the new orbital economy. With 2 massive stages and the ability to return its main booster intact to an ocean barge, the vehicle promised to drastically reduce the costs of deep space access. The immense assembly hangar in Cape Canaveral operated at an accelerated pace day and night to fulfill billion-dollar contracts that piled up on the boardroom table. The pressure on the engineering teams was palpable and constant. The primary target of this 4th test flight was Project Cooper, Amazon's direct answer for creating a global broadband internet constellation. The original cargo manifest anticipated the launch of nearly 48 LEO network satellites, a crucial step to close the gap against competitors. Fortunately, the 48 satellites were not aboard during the ground ignition test. They waited safely in the payload integration facilities, completely spared from the thermal destruction that swept across the launch pad. But the absence of physical cargo did nothing to lessen the strategic blow suffered by the company. The New Glenn was the critical and irreplaceable vector for dozens of missions scheduled until the end of 2026. Every day of delay on the pad represented a precious advantage ceded to rivals in the race for low Earth orbit. The urgency to place the fourth vehicle on the pad was a result of a tense and complex chapter that unfolded just weeks before, a chapter that the company's leadership desperately needed to leave behind and replace with an unquestionable visual triumph. The chapter the company needed to leave behind was written on April 19, 2026, during the third flight of the New Glenn. On that clear afternoon, telemetry monitors registered a historic and much-anticipated milestone for the launch program. The rocket's first stage completed its ascent and landed perfectly on the ocean barge, definitely proving that the aerodynamic reusability architecture was viable. It was a moment of relief and celebration in the mission control rooms. But the relentless environment of space demands perfection at every step, and the second phase of the mission met with failure. The rocket's upper stage failed to place the Bloomberg 7 satellite belonging to AST SpaceMobile into its correct target orbit. The Federal Aviation Administration, the regulatory agency known as the FAA, intervened immediately after the orbital anomaly. The vehicle was temporarily grounded by federal order, while a detailed investigation ascertained the causes of the incorrect insertion. Software and hardware corrections were implemented and approved in record time by flight authorities. Days before the explosion, Blue Origin's leadership announced with great confidence that launches would resume in early June. Assembly of the fourth vehicle was accelerated in the Florida facilities. The rocket was slowly rolled to the pad in late May, carrying the heavy expectation of proving that the second stage failure was merely an isolated stumble. Technicians connected the heavy cryogenic fuel umbilicals and prepared the internal systems for the static ignition. The official launch window was publicly set for June 4th. Everything was mathematically aligned for the program's redemption and the beginning of the Amazon satellite constellation's deployment. But the rush to return to orbit met its brutal limit on the night of the test. Amid the flames and molten metal of the pad, the night test revealed the cost of urgency. Why did a routine ground test become the biggest setback in Blue Origin's history? The immediate answer from the control panels is an uncomfortable silence full of uncertainties. Unlike in-flight failures, where dozens of kilometers of rarefied atmosphere can mask exactly the point of rupture, the rocket was right there, mere meters from high-resolution cameras and high-speed sensors. And yet, the root cause of the catastrophic anomaly remains an absolute mystery to the public and to engineers. The National Space Society, in an independent technical analysis, indicated that an extremely localized anomaly evolved so rapidly into a general conflagration that safety relief valves had no physical time to react. Supercooled liquid oxygen and liquefied natural gas mixed lethally within the confined environment of the base. United States Space Force emergency response teams arrived at the scene minutes after the flash disappeared. They found a scene of absolute destruction that went far beyond the mere loss of the launch vehicle. Launch Complex 36 suffered massive structural damage to its foundations and support systems. This physical detail is the heavy anchor that binds the company to the ground. 36 is currently the only operational pad in the world capable of supporting the New Glenn's dimensions. Without it intact, there is no possible path to orbit. The FAA immediately issued a new order for a complete halt to operations. The rocket returned to mandatory grounding status. The official investigation now focuses not just on discovering which component failed in the engine or ground fluid systems. It focuses on how to redesign protocols to prevent the disaster from recurring.
The transparency of collected data will be the only way to regain the industry's trust. This public promise of transparency guided the complex investigations in the weeks following the explosion. Blue Origin issued a contained official statement acknowledging the serious anomaly and confirming that all employees and technicians were safe and accounted for. They warned Florida coastal communities that dangerous debris could reach beaches via ocean currents, asking the public not to touch the charred fragments. NASA, through its administrator, Jared Isaacman, declared institutional support for the full investigation, aware that supply chain delays could spill over into short-term missions of the vast Artemis lunar program. But the voice that set the human tone and weight of the moment was that of Jeff Bezos himself. The company's founder broke usual corporate protocol with a raw and direct statement about the monumental loss. He publicly stated that it is still too early to know the root cause of the failure, but that engineering teams are already working exhaustively to find it. He described the event as a very difficult day, a rare and vulnerable acknowledgement of the pain that accompanies the limits of aerospace engineering. The magnitude of this loss resides not just in the complex hardware that was destroyed, but in the irrecoverable time that evaporated in the explosion. The Amazon Leo constellation deployment schedule suffered a deep and cascading impact. External clients who had optimistically watched the rapid recovery after the partial failure of the third flight now face months of operational uncertainty. The fireball completely extinguished the June launch window and forcibly rewrote the 2026 space calendar. The initial silence regarding the technical cause is not a corporate cover-up. It is the necessary rigor when physics punishes miscalculations with such indiscriminate violence. The reconstruction of the launch pad and the assembly of a new vehicle will require months of meticulous inspections and strenuous tests. The outcome of all this technical effort will, in due time, answer the question that echoed on that illumined night in Florida. When the vehicle designed to dominate orbit transforms into a fireball on the ground, it forces a brutal pause in a technological race that simply does not forgive shortcuts. The detonation of the fourth New Glenn was not just the accounting loss of a complex machine. It was an undeniable reminder of the lethal risk inherent in every cryogenic fuel ignition. Bezos concluded his statement with a promise that echoes human resilience in the face of cosmic frontier barriers. We will rebuild what needs to be rebuilt and fly again. It's worth it. In our next episode, we will investigate China will keep an astronaut in space for 1 year for the first time. Low Earth orbit is about to test the biological limits of the human body in a completely unprecedented way. The dark waters of the Cape Canaveral coast now reflect only red emergency lights, while the night wind scatters fine dust over the fractured concrete.